Yeah, thanks, Eric. It's good to see you smile a little bit there. Um, hey, I know I asked you about the rotation. I was wanting to go a little deeper there for something I'm working on. You look at these 8 guys, and probably at the LSU game, several of them weren't in the rotation for various reasons. Um, what have you thought about how this group has come together? And like you say, you're playing your best ball. Nate Oates said that too, that you guys are playing their best ball. What is it about this group that's working? And a month ago or whatever, could you imagine this would be the core group you're going with down the stretch?
No, I mean, I think one the it's a group that's continued to work. I think the other thing is just the health. Like KB dealt with some different things. He's still dealing with an Achilles. Obviously TB has been hurt throughout different times of the season, and it's just kind of a group that when we've tried to add everything up, meaning practice and games and the different vehicles that we use from a statistical analysis, it's just been the kind of the group that we've settled on down the stretch here. But guys that aren't in the rotation obviously have to stay ready. Especially in a tournament type setting. But yeah, I mean, how it's evolved is probably a whole bunch of different things, put together. Bob, I don't think it was just one particular thing. We've been trying to find a group that complements each other as well. So there's all those different factors, really.
Well, why do you think it's working with these guys?
Um, it's a good, the combination together is good. It started, I think it was even the Mississippi State road game. Devo was playing the 4 at that spot, at that time. So it hasn't just been this group. I mean, it has been, for the last couple of games, but it's they complement each other. I think that's one thing. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to contribute to your story, Bob.
I appreciate that. I don't want to make anything up. And when I say the group, I don't mean just the starters. I mean the 8 guys that you're. And I think you had 16 different starting combinations. I know you don't like nobody likes doing that, right? But how good is it, or how good do you feel that you've been able to finally settle on a group and do it the way you've always done it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the team has played confident. I mean, I think our last 3 road games on weekends were Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Alabama. Those are 3 hard places to play. All you'd have to do is look at their home record. If you add those, and we didn't win them, but we gave ourselves, or we had an opportunity to win all 3 of those games, and so I think that it's a confident or a more confident team than we were earlier. And I do think that, this particular group knows where shots are coming from and who they're coming from. And, um, you know,
I wanted to ask something about Davenport too, if I could kind of follow up what you said the other day. I was reading this might have been a Scotty story from his long lost whole hog days, but Wes Miller had a quote I think in the Cincinnati Enquirer, just praising Davenport and how much he loves coaching him, kind of similar to what you said. I don't know how many guys you'd have 2 coaches say that about. What is it about Jeremiah that makes guys like you and Wes Miller love coaching him?
just super high energy, competitive, plays with emotion, practices with emotion, um, good teammate, um, can accept different roles. Um, he's got a positivity about himself. He's great on the bench when he's not in games. Brings energy to his teammates. So I would say those qualities. Um, willing to take on any defensive assignment regardless of position.
And I know you brought him in to be a shooter, and he's hit some shots, but he's rebounding real well. And I think there was a game earlier this year where he scored real well in the first half, and then you didn't play him because he didn't have a rebound in the first half. He's really rebounding well. he had a lot of assists. He seems like he's doing more than just shooting. What do you thought about his all around contributions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, we're playing better, he's playing better, is there is a more across the board. I mean, he even had for a shooter, he had a high quality assist numbers the other night as well. So he's doing a little bit of everything, which is, what you want out of those guys that are 6'5" to 6'7". You want those swing guys to be able to, to impact the box score in more than one way. And he's starting to do that with the rebounding, the passing. He made a great dribble drive move the other night in Tuscaloosa. So, and again, you kind of look at the history of our guys that play the 3-4, and those guys have been players that can do a lot of different things. The Adisa Tonys and the Stan Amudes and Jordan Walsh's. Those guys have been, it's been important for us, for those guys to do multiple things while they're on the floor. And JD is slightly undersized compared to those other guys, but he is the closest thing to those other guys as far as a multi positional guy that can kind of play three different positions for us.
Yeah, I might have a couple more. I'll turn back to Kyle if time allows. Thanks.
Curtis.
Coach, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier there, but I guess you've kind of settled in on your rotation, but in a tournament setting like this, if you get to the later rounds, you might need more than that. So what's the added benefit of having guys like a Blocker, a Keon, a JG, who might not be in the rotation right now, but they've contributed for you in SEC play this year?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, Curtis, we're really worried about is how to, obviously how to beat Vanderbilt. So, as you look beyond that, I mean, I don't think that any of the players can, and I don't think that the coaching staff can, but I will say that for any teams that advance, depth can, the further you advance, depth can become more of a factor. And certainly guys like Layden Blocker. I mean, Layden has practiced really hard. And I know, like, Layden Blocker's staying ready to play. And that's what you need to do. If you're not getting the reps in a game, it's important to stay mentally focused and get the reps and work on your cardiovascular. And I do think we have some guys that, first one in the building, those guys, that are doing that type of stuff, they're staying ready to play. And like I said, if you're fortunate, any team that's fortunate enough to advance, rotations can alter with each extra game that you have to play.
Scotty.
Yeah, Eric, I wanted to ask you about Makai. Just how valuable has his progression been over the last month plus? I guess just in terms of giving the front line some stability with guys in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, Makai's been great. Pick and roll. We're playing through him. He's done a great job of rolling. He also understands when to short roll against different defenses, and he's played really, really good basketball. You look at his last 10 game segment. We need him to play better than the Vandy game, because other than that game, he's played at a high level. And so we just need him to continue to do what he's been doing, to continue to play like he did against Alabama in some of these games of late. He's really played fantastic on both ends of the floor for us.
And then on Caleb, looked at his numbers, at least one steal in the last 6 games, 4 blocks in the last 2. Has anything in particular stood out to you defensively with him, maybe from early in the year until now?
Yeah, I think he's just way more comfortable in our system right now. I think he understands the terminology. I think he understands, where he's supposed to be on the weak side defensively. And then I think his on-ball awareness has become more aggressive as well. So I think all those factors, would be why I think we're seeing defensive numbers increase with KB.
Hutch.
Yeah, Eric, you've mentioned several times that y'all played really well down the stretch, except for maybe an 8-minute stretch against Vandy, and you got those guys coming up. Do you look back at that stretch and kind of watch the film with the team and try to make specific corrections based on that, or is that kind of been completely flushed?
No, I think it's extremely important as you play a team multiple times that you look and review things that you did well and things that you didn't do well. And certainly Jerry Stackhouse, they run great stuff. They'll change up their defenses. They have 3 players that are playing at a high level, and Coach Stackhouse does a great job of getting Manjon and T. Lawrence and Lubin inside. He gets those 3 guys the basketball, and then they have other guys that are surrounding those 3 that can make threes. But certainly, Hutch, we've gone back, and today will be another day where we'll show video of the last game. We'll also show some video and discuss some of the things that Vanderbilt did against Florida in their last win. So yeah, I think you look at our past game, that carries a lot of weight in adjustments, and then certainly their most recent games become part of evaluation, adjustments, and game planning.
And I know this season hasn't gone the way y'all had hoped, but the All SEC teams came out today, and T-Mark wasn't one of the 17 guys on either team. Were you a little bit surprised, considering as good as he's been for y'all, that maybe he wasn't at least a second team guy or anything?
Yeah, Hutch, I came straight from lunch, had some salmon at Taziki's, and walked in here, and Kyle put me in front of you guys. So I don't know what time that came out. So I don't have a comment unless I had some time to digest it, but I don't know who the other names are, so I guess it would not be it'd be inappropriate for me to comment. Certainly feel like T-Mark has had a great season, and has been productive throughout the SEC season as well. So unless I had time to study that list, I would be ill-informed, other than to say that I think T-Mark has had a great season.
Jackson.
Hey, Muss. Lubin, I know he did a really good job on the offensive glass against you guys, but he also got some easy baskets. What's the key maybe to making life a little more difficult for him? Does it start with the guards that they've got?
Well, I think a couple things. I think, Jackson, when you look at so Florida's one of the biggest teams in the SEC, and you look at the offensive rebounding numbers in Vanderbilt's last game. That's a lot of offensive rebounds they got as a team against what I consider as good a rebounding team, maybe in our league. So, but Lubin, he did a great job reacting to rebounds. If Manjon and Lawrence get into the teeth of the defense and are able to give dump off passes, and your bigs help. Certainly that creates issues. We've got to have better smashes, was what we call it, on the weak side. And he played a great game against us. He's a really good player that, in my opinion, he's a hard cover. He made a couple threes against the Gators, so that opens up a little bit more of his game as well. So like I said, they have 3 in what our opinion, or the way that we are deeming them, is they have 3 stars, and you've got to try to contain those guys, and then you've got to understand the other guys in their rotation and their strengths, and try to take away somewhat of their strengths. And a lot of their other guys that we haven't mentioned are 3-point shooters and high 3-point attempt players. So that's kind of how we're formulating the game plan, but certainly the effectiveness that they had at that 5 spot in the first meeting, we've got to improve, and that's everybody's responsibility. From the coaches to all 5 players on the floor.
Last one, Anthony.
Hey Eric, hope you're doing well. Obviously, I know all the focus is on Vanderbilt at the moment, but I just wanted to ask you a little bit about recruiting, especially with some guys entering the portal at this point. Is that something you look at, or how much do you look at the stuff like that with at this stage of the season?
We're looking at it. I mean, we've made phone calls and if it requires video evaluation, there's not a lot in the portal. There might be stuff that's on social media that says, a guy's going in, but until a guy actually shows up in the portal, in the NCAA database, so there are not a lot, but there's a couple guys that names that'll pop up in there, and we'll evaluate and do what we can and recruit the minute after we evaluate. Then it gets to a matter of are you going to make phone calls or not? And look, before Elite Eight games, we've been doing Zooms. I've said that in the past. So certainly, if you're playing for an Elite Eight and an opportunity to make a Final Four and you're doing Zooms, then certainly we're going to be working to the best of our ability right now, as well as preparing, which is the most important thing, is to prepare for Vanderbilt. That takes, that's the front seat, and then the back seat would be, recruiting and working the portal as names pop up in there.
Thanks, Mus.
Thanks, you guys.